Hello everyone. Many of you out there are just trying to get started into lighting and Photoshop, and I know it can be really a daunting procedure. And you may have seen a couple videos out there and said, wow, I really like the results. I want to be able to do that. And you get in there and there are some major problems you see with, say, a color shifting or whatever. You see people do it, it looks easy, and the truth is it actually is pretty easy, but you try and do it yourself and it gets really difficult. You start having problems, and that's not really fun when you're trying to be a professional photographer, right? You're getting home with 3 houses to edit. You don't want to have to do stuff like that. So what this video is about is I'm really going to encourage you guys who are just getting started in lighting and sort of using Photoshop as a leverage, as a tool in your real estate photography. I'm going to encourage you in this video to just go ahead and start off using flash frames. So in other words, excuse me, you're blending your flash frames only. And just the basis for this is that when you blend a flash frame with an ambient frame, there's all sorts of stuff that can go wrong. Okay, you don't have to, that's the whole point of this video. We don't want to sort of confuse your mind right now. You're getting into Photoshop, you're getting into lighting, you're buying all this gear, you're getting into layers and blending modes, right? You don't want to have more stuff to think about. But the truth is, an ambient and a flash frame are so much different in terms of the contrast and the colors that it's going to be very hard to sort of match those two up. And that's why I'm telling you, go ahead when you're starting out, instead of using a flash frame and combining that with an ambient, go ahead and use 2 flash frames or maybe 3 flash frames. And that's what I really recommend. And you can see that, like, for example, in my Quit Your Job sort of beginning real estate photography course, we talk about a few ways to get in there, and I sort of start you guys off with more of a simple ways to think about it. And then later in the course we talk about things like I call vignette lighting, which is just 2 flash frames and putting those together. And I've gone through entire houses like this before, just 2 flash frames, just lay them on top of each other in Photoshop. It's really easy to sort of blend and meld 2 flash frames in Photoshop, no matter what level you're at. It's not easy all the time to blend or meld a flash frame with an ambient frame, okay? And you don't even have to understand all the nuts and bolts of it. It's not that important right now. What's important is you get in there. Just remember from this video, you want to start out blending flash frames only. And the drawback of this might be that maybe you don't get sort of the naturalization in your photos, because that's really what ambient does for us. It really tends to make our photos a little bit more natural with those ambient frames. But you guys don't worry about that. You don't need to get so crazy like that right now. Just focus on using flash frames and blending those together. You're going to have much better luck sort of making those 2 frames consistent with one another, and that's going to let them you're going to be able to brush those together so easily. And so get in there and give that a try. Let me know how it goes. I guarantee you it's going to be so much better. Your results are going to be so crystal clear, and the contrast is going to be great, and the colors are going to be so accurate. I don't even think, and my point here is getting down the line, once you got the layers and the blend modes and everything, and you're understanding, and you really got these ways of mixing your 2 flash frames together down. Maybe you've developed 3 or 4 different ways that you love. Well, down the line, you're going to start saying, oh, I understand this stuff now. I'm going to get in there now and start getting that ambient technique, right? And you're going to start taking your ambient frames. Maybe you should even do that now just for insurance, because sometimes those ambient frames save you as far as insurance go. You have some reflection somewhere. So I would recommend getting those anyway, the 1 ambient frame where the room's sort of well exposed. But in general, go ahead. Like I said, give it a try. Mix flash frames. Find your exposure you want for that window, or your exposure for your flash frames, in other words, and mix your flash frames together in Photoshop. Forget all those tutorials out there on the mixing the ambient and the flambient. That's going to be really confusing for you, in my opinion. and let me know how that goes. And I hope this was helpful for you guys. I really do. If you're more interested in the course, there should be links down below. The Quit Your Job course, it kind of like just gets you in there just nice and smooth to where it's not really overwhelming. That's how I designed that course to be. All right, so guys, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one.